Okay, so Piper, thank you so much for being here. And I always start by asking, where are you in the world and did you surf today?
I live right outside of Washington, D.C. now, and I did not surf today, but I surfed at the wave park the other day, and I'll surf tomorrow, which I'm stoked that there's waves, even though it's 40 degrees outside.
So outside of Washington, D.C., where does that have you surfing?
So we usually go to Eastern Shore, Maryland, so Assateague or Ocean City. Sometimes we'll even go up to New Jersey.
And what are the waves? I know New Jersey, but I've never surfed in Maryland. So what are the waves like when you get to go surfing?
I mean, it's pretty. Can I cuss on here? It's pretty
Yeah.
shitty beach break. Yeah, just shifty beach break, but we pretty much go to the same spot. So it's interesting. It's like, I've gotten to surf in all of these amazing places, and Assateague is still one of my favorite places, not necessarily for wave quality, but it's a national seashore. And so it's got wild ponies and dolphins, and no one lives there. It's just campground and preserved areas. So, there's no houses that are kind of in the skyline when you look back on the shore. I've just had like some of my most magical days there. Everyone can spread out, but it's still chill parking lot culture. And it's definitely gotten busier over the last 15 years, especially since COVID. But it's such a special place. And I can always just feel my heart rate start to go down and my shoulders relax, like as soon as we pull onto the island and see like a pod of ponies. It's just great. It's so magical.
Nice. So these ponies, they are actually, I mean, wild ponies, is that really a thing?
Totally. I mean, I think we're pretty close in age. Like, do you remember Misty of Chincoteague, that
I
book?
mean, yes, yes,
Yes, totally. Okay. So
absolutely.
Chincoteague is the lower part of the island and Assateague is the northern part. So I don't know, there's all of these, mixed tales as to where the horses came from. I mean, they're ponies, they're not horses. Um, I think it was like, oh, there's a Spanish ship that wrecked and it had all these horses on the boat. And then they swam to this island and kind of got stranded. And so now it's National Seashore. And I mean, they do, I think, have to auction off the ponies every so often for like population control. But yeah, there's just these like pods of ponies. And I mean, they're not friendly. I mean, they'll completely ravage, your campground, your car, just to get to your cooler, and they'll like bite and kick. And so, there's hilarious illustrated signage everywhere that's like, "Don't pet the ponies. For the love of God, don't pet the ponies," right? But it still is just like such an idyllic thing to see, especially when you're, getting in or out of the water surfing. You're like, what is my life? There's rainbows and then there's dolphins in the background and now there's ponies. It's so great.
Can you imagine being the pony that got auctioned off? Like here they are, like living their best life, like antagonizing campers and cruising around in their with their family, and then all of a sudden a couple of them, like it makes me feel so sad for those
I
ones
know.
that get auctioned off to what, like a petting zoo or something.
I know.
It's
I mean,
tragic.
I guess it's better than like the glue factory if that's even a real thing, but I'm just
What
like,
is
oh
it? What
God,
is
can
it?
you just take the whole family? Like,
Yeah,
not don't
right.
split them up. Yeah. Yeah.
Just imagine like the postcard that gets sent home, like here I am at the petting zoo, another round cycled around with some
Yeah,
3-year-old
another
kicking
swim
me
on the
and
go
screaming.
round for sure.
Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
exactly, exactly.
Well, thank you for
Yeah.
that magical image. It's fun to imagine. I had such a situation with my surf this morning. I live in southern Costa Rica, but not as far south as Pavones, a few hours north of that. And I live up on a hill. It's like an 8-minute drive to the beach. And I haven't been surfing the last few days. I've just been taking care of other things. And I had set the intention that, okay, this morning I'm going to get up early and I'm going to go, and the car wouldn't start, and I was like all geared up and the dog was there and I'd eaten my breakfast and I'm like, I'm going surfing. And so I put my shoes on and walked, which it's like 35 minutes down the hill, and I got there and the waves were like absolutely not worth the effort. um but it
Not
was
worth
made
the
worse
hype.
from I I've been like traveling and everything with my family and the kids for the holidays, so I haven't really surfed for me, and I also haven't worked out, and so the day before I had done this, we just launched this new workout program, surf themed workout program on the Surf with Amigas online, and I was going to test it out, and it kicked my ass. And so my like thighs are already like almost too sore to even think about surfing, and then I'm like going on this big mission. So I put a lot of effort in for not very great waves, and there were no ponies.
Okay, well, I mean, you're basically describing almost every surf experience that I have going to Assateague because it is a lot of effort to get there. It's like several hours drive, like either waking up at, 4 a.m. or the night before, and like shifty mid-Atlantic beach break could be hit or miss. Surf line isn't always accurate. So I definitely feel that. But like that's such a strong case for joining the Surf with Amigas app and getting in on that workout.
Yes, yeah, it's not for babies. Turns
Yeah,
out, it's
that's well.
like we have like one track that's like all levels, and they're like short classes. And the idea is if you book a retreat and you maybe aren't in the best shape or you don't have like a workout routine, it's like eases you into it. And this is like the advanced, like intense 3 week, like, okay, you do have a workout program, so here is the workout for you. And I guess I don't have a workout program. I'm gonna go back to the like one for babies. Yeah, it was good.
You're like, I thought my lifestyle just kept me in shape and maybe not so much. I mean, I definitely feel that like in midlife for sure. I'm like, oh, I need to lift heavy weights like a lot. And yeah, that's kind of been an eye opener now in my mid 40s. But it's like you
And
take a
have you been
week
doing
off
it?
and it feels like you haven't worked out in a year. It's wild.
Have you been doing it? Though that thing we're supposed to be doing? Have you been lifting the heavy weights?
I try. I mean, I have an app. I do a thing. I bought heavier weights, but I'm lucky if I'll get like 2 or 3 days in. But the one thing I am like pretty religious about, because like I have to get outside every day, is we live right near a nature preserve, which I'm feel really grateful for. Like we don't love living in this area. It was just kind of circumstantial for a short period of time, but we're like right by this whole mess of trails. So I'm like, if I'm not out there every single day taking advantage of that, then I'll probably lose my mind, if we're being totally honest. And I do. I mean, like I get out and I feel like I'm in my soft era of working out. It's like, okay, I did my hike. We're good.
Yeah. Well, and as a woman in her mid 40s, I can identify with that. But I guess one thing that I worry about is like the longer you go, or I'll say speak for myself, the longer I go in my soft era, it's like it doesn't come back. So like it's
No.
like, are we soft era forever? Is this is to the end now?
I know. And it's nice. I mean, I love that Surf with Amigas like kind of does. You've done like periodic, trip ready challenges. And that's like such a good way to kind of, I mean, I'll take anything, right? Like any Kickstarter that the world is offering, like I'm there, I'm showing up, I'm joining. Cause yeah, you just need to like get out of the soft era cycle for sure.
Well, speaking about the Surf with Amigas community, that is how we met. I put so Surf with Amigas has a WhatsApp group chat for once people have come on a retreat. We send a link out if you want to join the bigger group. It kind of took the place of like Facebook groups, since I mean, I don't know, maybe some people still use Facebook, but fewer and fewer. And it's been a really great resource. Like I love like putting a message in there to like ask people's opinion on something. And I put a message that said, hey, if anybody has good ideas for the podcast or people that you would like to hear from, reach out. And you reached out and said, actually, I would love to share my story, which I was so excited about. I was like, yes, let's do that. And here we are.
Yeah, totally. I mean, first of all, like I love that group. I thought I got added to the group because I had done I gotten like the online platform and I was like, "Oh, what a nice perk." And then I realized, "Oh no, it's because I've like done trips with you guys." And it's been amazing. It's like such a fun way to, like you said, like learn new information. Hey, what's your favorite wetsuit? Do you have a connection for a surf spot or a guide in Portugal or whatever people are talking about? And I like that it's not like every day hundreds of messages on WhatsApp. It's just kind of like here and there. But yeah, I feel like I have such a fun story to tell, and like so many people ask me about it. And it's actually not really that uncommon of a story anymore. I mean, what I will share, we did from 2019 to 2021. And so, yeah, I think kind of post pandemic things have like really shifted. And even generationally, like there's all these kids on Instagram that are doing the things that we thought were, so wild, like in our 20s. Like, I moved to a ski town, you moved to Costa Rica. It's like, these are not uncommon things anymore. And yet in midlife, it feels like a lot of people, especially if you're in the US and you're questioning politics, are thinking like, oh, maybe I should take a break from adulting and explore like other places to live.
Yeah, which is actually like such a positive thing that are no longer considered crazy for entertaining the idea of doing something like that. But yeah, I wanna hear your story. So where do you want to jump in? I guess if you want to start by like where did you grow up and how did you get into surfing?
Oh my gosh. Well, I grew up a little landlocked. I grew up in Texas. My mom remarried when I was in middle school, and then we moved to Maryland, which outside of Annapolis, it's like a sailing and drinking town, and neither one I did at 12 years old. So, that part of my life just, I didn't get to take advantage of the water. And then I just moved all around, like all through college. I lived in Philly. I finished school down in Georgia. And then I decided to um, actually like move to a ski town for what I thought would be a winter and ended up being 7 years. And it was really, that was kind of the time that I originally found Surf with Amigas. And this was like late 2000s. I think maybe you had just started and, I had been introduced to this like way of living of, oh, you can build a life around like your outdoor pursuits and adventures. And it was something that was really like a special awareness to me because I had come from, familial upbringing, societal upbringing. Like you go to college, you get a job, you work 9 to 5, your identity is your job, you get married, you have kids, you have a minivan, etc. And none of that had ever been interesting to me. And I was like, yeah, we're not doing any of those things. So I literally left college and like packed up my Volkswagen Jetta that I think had like front wheel drive and like drove to the mountains and ended up in this really cool little ski town, Steamboat Springs. And I just kind of, my eyes opened to this whole other way of living, like more of a, I work to go live my life type of outlook on life. And I met people that, would ski all winter. And then in the summer, they would, go down to Costa Rica or go down to Panama and surf like in the off season and kind of have this seasonal lifestyle. And like Blue Crush had come out and I was like, oh, can I do that? Like, and so my love affair with surfing started probably in the late 2000s, with like a little experiment here and a little dip in the water with friends in Mexico here and there, and just, getting my ass handed to me every single time. And I just kept at it because I'm like, man, if I can be a really good snowboarder, like I can for sure figure out surfing. And I didn't for a very, very long time. And then fast forward, I ended up, switching careers, starting a photography business, moving back to the East Coast to be closer to family, and met my now husband. And then we started a whole life together and a nonprofit and a whole thing. And he, grew up skateboarding and surfing, and we kind of found that connection. And so I started doing it again, and we would go to said Pony Beach like almost every single weekend for years, not looking at the surf report. I didn't even know how to read a surf report. We were just going. It was our weekend. We were packing up the tent and going. And I just struggled. It was like it's so hard to learn that way, with crappy waves and no one teaching you. And I had a really great year in my business. And, I just had like a lot of interesting things happen, and I made a bunch of money that year. I was like published in Oprah, and I was doing work with National Geographic. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take myself to a surf coaching place. I don't want to retreat. I don't need a massage. I don't need yoga. Like, I want to learn. I want to get coached. And I went to this place in Nosara in Costa Rica, and I was there for 2 weeks, and I like threw down more money than I'd ever spent in my life, like on a trip, because I was always like a scrappy backpacker. And I just learned, and I learned really fast. I mean, I was still terrible, but I like came away so much more confident, like, okay, now I've got like mechanics that I can figure this out. And yeah, it just kind of stuck with it. But fast forward, several years, I just got to a point where, my husband and I have been running this nonprofit for about 7 years, and this was 2018. And I was like, I don't want to live in the city. I don't want to live on the East Coast. I don't really know what I want my life to look like, but I know there's water, I know there's surfing, and I know there's community and connection, and I'm definitely not going to figure it out sitting around here twiddling my thumbs. So we'd been building a camper van at the time, and I just decided, hey, I'm going to take the van, I'm going to take off for like 6 months and figure out my life, right? And then my husband's like,
Solo.
you would.
You were like, ciao, I'm going.
Yeah, totally. And he was like, "You're gonna go without me?" And I was like, "Well, do you want to come? Would you also like to leave your life?" And he was like, "Yes." I mean, we had some circumstantial things happen. Like he got shot in the chest with what turned out to be a BB gun, going to a punk show, and it was like all the signs. The universe was trying to tell us like maybe your time in Baltimore is over and you should explore something else. And so we sold most of our belongings, put our house on Airbnb, packed up the van and the dogs, and hit the road for, we thought it would be like 6 months. That's how much money we had. And it ended up being about 3 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. It's hard to imagine that your initial thought was like, I'm not even gonna talk to him, I'm just going, and like if he wants to get on board, like he can, that's fine. Like I'm not against him coming, but like I'm going and I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that is very much like our personalities in our marriage. We decided early on, like, okay, are we gonna have kids? Are we not gonna have kids? Okay, we're not gonna have kids. Let's make life awesome. And we've always just been like very individual, and what our vision for our own accomplishments are, and then just trusting we're going to figure out how to like make that compatible along the way. And it's been very true. In fact, the reason we came back to the East Coast, some family things over COVID, but he owns a tattoo shop that's like right outside of DC. So he's like actually locked in geographically, and I work online. And I'm like, I don't want to live here. So I'm going to California for the winter. And I'm like, bye. And we figure out how to make it work. Like he flies out, and yeah, and we make it happen.
That's great. I feel like that in itself is so inspiring because I feel like so many couples, it's so much like more enmeshed, and if there's some idea of like I want to do this thing, it turns into
Yeah.
this, oh well, that must mean that you don't, like one of us has to compromise, we have to be, and so to hear you say that it's like a mutual agreement that you're just going to both do what you need to do and figure out a way to stay together, that's really cool. I can't imagine that
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
always though. I mean, you make it sound very easy.
totally. It's like it comes after many, many conversations, but I think it's gotten easier too. And I mean, I think that's the thing about like say van life or escaping living in another country, leaving your political system, whatever it is, whatever your reasons. You're thinking the grass is greener on the other side. And what they don't tell you, like when you do those things, is you're really learning. It's not about like finding something better. It's about coming face to face with yourself. And, in our van life experience, I mean, living in 50 square feet with your spouse for 3 years, like there's no escaping, to your friends, to your job, to whatever distractions you have in your day to day, or like even to your kids, because like we didn't have kids. And we met other van life couples that had their kids with them. It's like these are all ways in which you can avoid like having very clear upfront conversations. And it really forced us to mature our communication style and like really learn what it is that we even want for ourselves to then communicate that to the other person, not in a, well, I'm doing this and I don't care, what you're going to do about it, but I'm doing this. What are you wanting to do and how can we make this work? And I think that is like one of the biggest reasons that keeps people from making the kind of decisions and leaps in their lives that do feel very aligned with what their true nature is or their true desires, is feeling like there has to be a compromise. And I don't know if it's a compromise, but more of finding the complementary path that might not look like anybody else's.
Well, and having the maturity in the relationship or in each individual, because my experience has been there seems to be like one side that's kind of like sort of taking care of the other almost, and it's like one person sort of dictates the way to go, and like, oh, if you were to go and do something else, like that wouldn't work because I need you to be here to support me, or and maybe we'll take turns supporting each other, but there's still like the one person. Like it seems like, yeah, I mean, obviously there's all different kinds of relationships and different ways to do it and different ways that we interact and things that we need. But yeah, it's really interesting what I just think about like my own experience and like other couples that I know intimately. And it's hard to imagine. It always seems like there'd be one person in the relationship that'd be like more okay with that. And the other one that would be like, like
Yeah.
I need you. You can't leave me. Like, oh, I miss you. And like, what are we if you're living halfway across the country just because you want to?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's real for sure. And I think, when John and I started the nonprofit, so it was a tool lending library and a public maker space. So there was like a wood shop, a metal shop, all kinds of like educational opportunities. And I did a lot of the operations and he did a lot of like the class development, community development side. And those were like natural spaces where we fell into place. But, from the outside looking in, it was like, oh, he gets the like fun job. And I get like the hard job. I mean, welcome to like being a woman in a heteronormative relationship, right? But also like we had to kind of realize that, and I think that was one of the reasons that I wanted to like escape in van life. I was like trying to escape this identity and this role that I had put myself into, and trying to break beyond those confines and think about like what is it that I actually really want for myself that isn't wrapped up in this identity I've created in this relationship. And I think, sort of our codependent tendencies that we develop in relationship can really mask and make it difficult for you to discern what you even want, let alone have the guts to vocalize it and trust, if you have a solid relationship, like it's going to grow from that. I think there's that term, maybe it's in like relationship therapy, but it's, things have to rupture and then to be able to repair and grow from it. And I think that's, when you purposefully invite that kind of rupture, you just cross your fingers like you're with the right person, that you are going to grow from it. And I think we really have. It's definitely helped him kind of do his own thing and, start this new career path. Well, new old for him, but and allowed the kind of independence in a relationship that I think keeps it healthy for the long term, and where there's not like resentment or frustration. It's like, oh no, this is what I need. And what do you need? And how can we figure that out?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love hearing about that. It gives me like hope for relationships. Like this is
Yeah.
this is a model that people need to see. That you can nurture yourself. I feel like a lot of times if you feel like you're missing something, it seems like it can often be like construed like if I need to take a break from you because I got to do my own thing, it ends up in like a breakup. So,
Yeah, because we take it so personally, right? It's
yeah,
like, oh,
right.
that must mean there's something wrong with me in the
Right. You're not happy
relationship.
with me, you need
Yeah.
to go find something else.
Yeah. No. And it's like, no, I was a whole person before I met you. Just want to
Yeah.
be that whole person again.
But
Yeah.
can you ever in relationships, do you think? Like, are you ever going to be that whole person
I mean, that's a good
exactly?
question. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you can. It's just remembering like, and I think it's easy to forget too. It's like, what is the whole version of me anymore now that, I mean, because your identity is shifting, right? Like you had one identity, then you're in a relationship, and now you've kind of attached this like other identity. And I think all too often, we kind of lose ourselves in that identity for a period of time, or it changes shape because we had like kids or other kinds of responsibilities to it. And I think, especially this particular chapter in our lives, for all people, there is a chapter in your life where you pull back from all of that and you kind of question and you think, like, what is the identity that I actually want to have? And I think it's easy to, want to go back in time to like simpler times, like when I didn't have a mortgage or a car payment or 10 kids or whatever it is, that you think is the reasons that you've lost a connection to that identity, but it's not. You made a conscious choice to make your life about different things, and at any point you can make a conscious choice to make your life about new things. And I think that was like the biggest learning from doing 3 years of van lifing and pausing on most adulting, is not, going to find myself and what I was about, but kind of coming back to what it is that I even think is interesting to be curious about or to explore at this particular stage in my life, and kind of like giving yourself permission to pull some new threads and show up for it. I think we can get so complacent in our day-to-day lives. And I mean, that's something like surfing's taught me too, is, you just keep showing up. It doesn't matter if you're good. Like you just keep showing up.
Well, when you did make that like statement to him, like I'm going to go on this thing, and he said I'm going to come too. Was there any part of you that was kind of like, oh, okay, because I had sort of wanted to take this time to re-identify or change my identity as this person that is able to do this. Like I can imagine myself in that situation, like getting this idea and like maybe mulling it over a while before I actually spoke it out loud. And by the time I like speak it to my partner, I probably already am on that path in my mind, like imagining just me. And so it's the idea of like, oh, now I'm going to imagine it like, with another person there might have, I don't know, what was the emotion there?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's such a great question, because I definitely think that there was a moment of, okay, but I wanted this for myself. But then, I mean, I love my husband. We have such a fun time together. I was also thinking, yeah, it's going to be a blast with you. Like, of course, of course, of course. And knowing that there was probably going to be like many opportunities, like to have moments to myself. Um, and there definitely was. I mean, like even, we didn't start like driving directly to the Pacific from the East Coast and beginning our surf adventure. Like we had some roundabout adventures along the way and like searched for treasure for 4 or 5 months, which actually got found during COVID, not by us, or
This
I
is
might have a
like
different background that would be a mansion, but
shipwreck treasure? Are we scuba diving or
um,
like
have you ever heard of Forest Fens treasure?
no?
Oh my gosh, Holly.
I'm
It's
not a
a
treasure hunter, clearly.
it's a wormhole. I'm gonna send you some links. No, this like old guy in Santa Fe like buried a treasure. He was kind of this wackadoo art collector. You know what
I
I'm
think I
talking
have
about.
actually. This is now you're ringing bells. So yes, I have heard of this. Did you say somebody
Yeah.
found it?
Someone found it. Yeah, during the pandemic in 2020, someone found it and we started looking for it. I found out about it in 2017. One of the volunteers at our nonprofit told me about it and I was like, "What is this?" And it was like a New York Times article and I looked at it. I'm like, oh, this would be so fun to take all of our volunteers, like get a grant, take all of our volunteers like treasure hunting for a week in New Mexico for like team building, right? And I didn't get a grant for it, but as soon as we decided to like leave on this trip, I'm like, let's go to the Rockies for the summer and see like if we can find this treasure. I kid you not, like we pulled into Santa Fe and an hour later, we're at this random bookstore coffee shop and Forrest Fenn is there signing books. And so I just like went up and started talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, my granddaughter's name is Piper, and let me sign your book." And I swear, like the way he signed the book, he was like, it was like this weird, crazy drawing signature. And I'm like, he's leaving us a clue. And it just like sent us on this path for 3 months. We drove ourselves absolutely mad, like trying to decipher this poem that he wrote that's supposedly the directions to the treasure. And we drove all the way up to like the border of Canada through the Rockies, like trying to find this treasure. It was wild. It was super wild. But
And you actually believed like I am going to find this treasure.
yeah, totally. I mean, because it was like the way he talks about it, like, even if and he's since passed, I think he passed last year. But like, what a neat man, like a really, really neat man, had a very, very neat life. And the way he talks about not only the reasons why he buried the treasure, he wanted to get people outside and families, etc., but the like how difficult it was to find. He was like, look, a kid could solve this puzzle. Like, that's how I designed it. And me at 75 did 2 trips there to bury the full treasure in one afternoon from my car. So, you're not like scaling a mountain, you're not gonna die trying to find it. Like, it's really accessible for like families to go and find like in an afternoon if you can solve the riddle in this poem, which you should be able to do. And I think that was, I forget when he buried it, but people were looking for it for I think almost 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, super wild, but like such a fun way to spend a summer. That was for sure.
And then at what point are you like, okay, we've done this for 3 months, like let's
Yes,
move on?
totally. Well, it was like when you started waking up with that poem in your head, and it was like the last thing that was just going round and round at night. I was like, I just need different information in my brain. So we got to go. And we decided to go down to Mexico and like see how much we could stretch the dollar and kind of start our surf trip there. And yeah, ended up being in La Saladita for like many months, I think like 5 or 6 months, and then kind of making our way down, went all the way down to Costa Rica. But lots of twists and turns and bumps along the way for sure. Like, not only, trying to get better at surfing and being in all these like bucket list places that had now, blown up. Like at the time, like La Saladita was crazy. I mean, I think it's even crazier now, but um yeah, like at one point I just remember and we had been to La Saladita probably like 10 years prior, and it was still kind of unheard of, right? There was like 2 places to stay, and it was maybe 15 people in the water in the morning. And we rolled up there and we're like, oh, it's different now. I think like Mexi Log Fest had happened there the year prior. And I remember paddling out like that first morning, and I hadn't at that point surfed in maybe like a year and a half or 2 years. So already like feeling rusty and nervous, and like, being in a new spot, even though you'd been there before. And at dawn, there was 30 people in the water. And, you're trying to like see what the pecking order is and the who's who. And you're like, okay, I see you, pack of old white American men. Got it. And things were fine for a few days. And then one day I went out, and I just remember like getting completely like screamed at by this like young New Yorker guy. And I don't even remember like what maybe I was in his way. I don't know. And thinking like, oh my God, is this moment where like a girl gets beat up in the parking lot? Like I'd never experienced that before. And it shook my confidence. I'm like, I wanted to say like, excuse me, sir, do you realize like all the things that I have accomplished in my life? Like, the lineup doesn't care about your resume at all, and like being reduced to like a kook in that moment, like all of your achievements go out the window, all of your self-esteem. And I remember like paddling back in, and my husband going like, what's wrong? What happened? And just like bursting into tears, thinking like, man, learning how to surf and like being in this van life experience feels like this unpaid job that I'm just really sucking at.
Oh man.
Totally, totally. And that was just like
Yeah.
a hard wake up moment of like, oh, I left this cushy life that I was really good at. And now I'm not good at a lot of things. It's
I
like,
would, that is the beauty of surfing in the ocean. It's such a humbling experience, but when it comes from, when the humbling moment is some like asshole that thinks he owns the place, and that's a little different.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And it was, like my choices were to like let that bother me or to figure out, my way around it and through it. And I was so grateful to have met this woman there in La Saladita and then another woman down in El Salvador. But this woman, Jeanette, she'd been retired for like 10 years. I think she was like in her late 60s, and her and her husband Larry like went to La Saladita, every single winter, and she started learning to surf I think when she was like 55. And she would just like sit on the inside and like catch leftover shoulders, but she was like up at dawn doing her calisthenics, was like the first person in the water and just did it every single day. And I was like, oh, okay, like surfing is about like the practice of just like showing up and showing up to yourself and showing up to, the rhythms of nature and deciding like that that's the most important way that you want to spend your morning. And that was like a really nice lesson for me. And I definitely like continue to carry that with me for sure.
Did you notice that you and your husband were having different experiences in the water?
100%. 100%. I mean, A, because he's a guy, and B, he's a better surfer, like technically, I guess. Um, but also he's just so much more, I don't want to say like naturally optimistic. Like I call him Johnny Sunshine because he literally like wakes up a happy person no matter what's going on in his life. And me, I'm just like a little bit more introspective about things. Like not necessarily pessimistic. I'm just more thoughtful. And it might not appear as a smile like first thing in the morning. And especially when you're like trying to learn something or get better at something, I felt like I was having so much more of a serious experience in the water, and he was having more of a carefree experience. And that would start to eat at me. Like, why can't I just be having carefree fun like he is?
And I noticed I actually am married to a Johnny Sunshine as well. His name is John, and I would describe him similarly. And I would say that like when I'm in a good moment, I like really like respect and appreciate for him for that. And if I'm in a grumpy moment, I'm like it's almost like salt in the wound. It's like
Yes.
how can you just be having so much fun like all the time? Like that's so annoying. And like I want you to join. Not that I want you to be miserable because I don't want you to be miserable, but just for a minute, I want you to be miserable. Like anytime that he's not Johnny Sunshine, I'm like, thank you for making me feel more normal. Like yes,
Oh my
I will
gosh.
hold space for your frustration because you are never frustrated. So yes, please give me your frustration.
Totally, totally. I know. I finally figured out like how to communicate what I needed from him in that moment. And and he knows now, it's like, I just need to be seen in the emotional experience that I'm having. So you can just say, like, hey, like, give me some acknowledgement, give me some validation. Like, I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to come down with me. Like, and sometimes I just need a hug and then, like, let me shed some tears and I'll be on my merry way. And that has definitely happened in the water a couple times, like, especially on, you know, 40-degree, windy, icy cold days, and you're like already exhausted putting on a 5'4" in the parking lot, freezing your tuchus off, and then like just getting your ass handed to you in the water. And you're like, why do I even do this sport? Just tears streaming down your face. And then he'll like paddle up to me after he's caught like 7 waves of the day back to back. And he'll just be like, you're having a really tough time. Like, would you like a hug right now? Do you want me to just sit next to you? He knows he doesn't need to like fix it for me. And so that's been really great. It actually like helps me move through that frustration a lot faster.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, mine. I think he's like he will either try to look on the bright side or he'll just leave me alone, which is also a
Yeah.
suitable reaction. Like, You
For
can't
sure.
fix it. Just like let me be in it for a minute and then I will get past it. But you can't pull me out of it until I've gone through the cycle.
Totally, totally. It's like I think we're so I mean, it's just so much easier for us to feel our feelings and like we know, right? It's like this is just a cycle. I'm on just like the emotional wave of the moment and I just need to like feel it out. And yeah. We've been surfing with his sister and she's kind of like the female version of him, so optimistic, sunshiny, happy go lucky, and I've seen her like have some meltdowns in the water. And part of me is like, okay, it's not just me. Like, even happy women experience this. But it also is kind of nice because, like, I'll just paddle up next to her and just like sit next to her. And, like, she can just cry. And I'll be like, yeah, I get it. Should we
I
just
get it.
go paddle for this wave and go paddle in? It's just like,
Go
yeah,
get a
okay.
coffee.
Yeah,
Well,
totally.
in your 3-year adventure, where was a place that you like loved, or was there any place where you're like, okay, I found home and I'd never want to go back, and like this is the place that I would love to live?
Oh my gosh. I feel like we found a lot of those places and then none of those places. And I think that, kind of to my earlier point, was really the biggest lesson of the trip. I had a friend who said this once, and I'll never forget it. And it kind of sums this up. He's like, all these people moving to Portland. This was like 2005 when everybody was moving to Portland. All these people moving to Portland thinking the grass is greener on the other side. And I say, you just need to water your lawn. I'm like, oh, it's so true. And I think for me, it became less about like finding the perfect place and learning how to feel as if everything was perfect inside of me in any place that I was at. And that was really like the big pivotal, identity shift that I needed to make. And so I think when I found that, like lots of places became seemingly perfect, places that we loved that we couldn't really see ourselves in long term, like El Salvador at the time. Loved it, had such an amazing time, wonderful people, great culture, great food. It wasn't, surf city like it is now. So it was just like a little bit different of a climate. And we're like, oh, yeah, we could come back here for sure. Of course, like always love Costa Rica. We've spent so much time there and could really see ourselves there. But honestly, at that point, we were tired and we were running low on funds. And it just, you kind of need a vacation from the vacation feel. And coming back to the States, like we came back right before the pandemic. So in some ways, I think we were really lucky. But we
Would you
went to
call that lucky? Because like as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, ooh, you should have just like waited a little longer, like ride out the pandemic in Costa Rica or something. Why'd you say it's lucky to get back beforehand?
totally. I mean, I think if we had remote work dialed in, then yes, for sure. But like running out of funds, like no way to really make a living. And then, yeah, if we had a safety net at that point that we could have just lived on while tourism dropped,
Yeah.
definitely. We would have loved to have been in Central America, anywhere in Central America during that period. Um, and instead we were like in Tucson where it was like super, super hot and very dry. But we came back and, spent some time in San Diego. I have family there. And that was like a really nice soft landing. And it was kind of a funny experience too, because at that point, I still didn't feel like I was a super great surfer, but I was stronger and I was like more confident and, could read waves better and read the lineup better. But I was nervous about coming back to the States and trying to surf like in Southern California and thinking, oh my God, like the water is going to be so crowded. And I still don't feel super confident, like navigating around people and everyone's going to think I'm a kook and I'm going to get beat up in the parking lot, all the things. Right. And I ended up finding just this like really amazing community of women called the San Diego Surf Ladies. And so, just meeting them and getting to surf with different women in different spots. And at one point, we had a friend come visit and he's like a very good surfer. And so I was like a little nervous, like, oh, I don't, want to look like an idiot in front of this guy, but also who cares? And so we're out in the lineup and it was like a really busy sunset session. And I remember just like having so much fun and everyone's catching waves. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, catch my last wave in. And I like popped up super fast. Like I wasn't even thinking anymore. I was just there doing the action, like popped up super fast. There's like a couple people in my line and I just like maneuvered around them super easily and like trimmed down the line all the way to the beach and like turned around and thanked the ocean. And I was like, holy shit, I can surf now.
Funny when you have that moment. Like for you, or like hearing your story, it seems like there's been like a few moments where all of a sudden there's this realization, like where you
Yeah.
don't necessarily realize, and then all of a sudden you're like have the awareness. Like when I heard you talking about, when I asked you if you found the place, and you're like, well, I started to realize that the place was within me. Like, was there something in particular that you experienced or that you went through that like made you realize that you felt that way, or was it kind of like what you just described at the surfing, like you ride one wave and then you're like, hang on, like I just did that, I guess I can do that now?
I think it was like along the way, really learning to let go of um like the sole focus, like white knuckling everything, and being more open to curiosity and presence, right? It's like I was so focused on like, we have to find where we want to live. I was so focused on like, I have to be better at surfing. I've been trying to do this for 10 years, right? And the moment I started like letting go of those things and just being in the place and enjoying what was happening and enjoying being in the water, like one of the biggest things that we did. So, when we eventually got all the way down to Costa Rica, we had met Joe Pickett, who you've had on the show, who's like, lady surf legend for anyone
Yeah.
who knows who Joe Pickett is. We had met her in El Salvador, and I was so inspired by her because her and I were like the only two women in this little teeny town. And it's besides like the lady that ran the restaurant, and it was like all these Brazilian dudes, and they were like running out to the break in the morning, and it was, like 9-foot waves, like huge and well, huge for me, and just like crashing against these rocks. And then there goes Joe out there with them, just shredding and like schooling everybody who was like a third her age. And I'm like, oh my God, she's amazing. We ended up eating dinner with them and then meeting up again with them near where they live in Costa Rica. And I remember her saying, like, um, you just got to go for it. You just gotta, like, every time you're in the water, just go for 10 waves, right? But like go for it, like commit to it. And I think I had been so caught up in my head about all the things that I wasn't ever really fully committing. Like, oh, what would it be like to fully live in this place and to make friends and to put myself out there? Or what would it be like to fully commit to this wave and not be stuck in my head like, well, is this the right wave? Or maybe I should wait for the next one. Or maybe I'm done. Maybe I'm tired. And just kind of like getting out of my head and deciding like in here to like really commit. And that was a real eye opener for me. And I think in the process of just committing to be in a place, like when we got to Costa Rica, it was the rainy season. And it was like where we were, it was just kind of like messy, chaotic water, like didn't feel super fun. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fin out. I'm not even going to surf. And I spent like 2 months just like swimming in the ocean and just loving that experience. And I think, just again, being present, kind of letting go of the white knuckling of things having to look or feel or be a certain way or get to a certain outcome was what kind of led to that point where I could just like let muscle memory take over and pop up and, oh shit, I can surf now.
I can do this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I can only imagine like the culture shock that would have gone through, like going from living in this little van, and even if you're letting go of the white knuckles, still that like constant movement, and where are we going to stay and how long are we going to stay, and where should we go next, and then coming back to the US and straight into the pandemic, and like that must have been I can imagine that would have been pretty hectic. I mean, that time was hectic for everybody, but considering that you had gone from the freedom of all of this and into lockdown in Arizona.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it was really that people kind of romanticize that freedom, but it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work, kind of figuring those things out on the fly or even slightly ahead of time or way ahead of time. It's all hard work, right? And it felt like I was just a beginner in like every single day, like in this new place, sometimes in this new country, sometimes like a shift of the Spanish dialect. Like I was new and I'm like a beginner in the water. I just kind of kept getting like beginner vibes all the time. And that gets a little exhausting. Like, I just want to be good at something right now. And then like the culture shock of kind of like being in that sort of beginner zone, survival, not really having a lot of chances to connect and slow down and start to feel your feet underneath you and, you know, see what life is about and see what you're about inside this life. And then to come back from the pandemic and have the opportunity to do that, but then like the world shuts down around you. That was it took a minute. I mean, we were like, what's happening? Like right when we were ready to like settle down somewhere and now we can't even make friends because everything's closed was a bummer for sure.
So then how did you end up back where you are now, Washington, D.C.? You said you had family there?
Yeah, so my husband was a tattooer. Like he pretty much did tattooing to like put himself through college and grad school. And then when we ran the nonprofit, he did it on the side, more part-time in like a private studio. Um, and he thought he wanted to shift away from that, but like through, I was having my own personal identity and professional like life crisis journey during this van life experience, and he was too. And when we came back and, the pandemic started and we were in Arizona temporarily for some work that he was doing with this glamping company. And then he was like, you know what? I think I want to go back to tattooing. So let's go back to Maryland. It'll be short term. He knew a bunch of people that had shops here. So it would be really easy for him to start working again. And then when we got here, we were here for a few months and he decided to buy the shop that he learned to tattoo in like 20 years ago. The owners had passed away during COVID, which was really sad, but he wanted to carry on their legacy of just getting tattooed in a really friendly, fun environment. And so he created his own new little empire there. And so we were like, oh, I guess we live here again. And I'm like, okay, well, if we're going to live here again, like I'm definitely not spending the winter here, especially, this far from the ocean. So that's why I decided, okay, I built my life to be a little bit more portable. I'm going to make the most of it.
So, but you're not in California now.
No, I leave in a week and a half.
Oh my gosh, so exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty stoked.
And
Yeah.
are you going back to San Diego?
Yeah, I'll go back to San Diego. My brother lives there. And so it's just a really easy landing zone. And most of their kids are grown and in college. And I'm super close with him. And they literally live like you can see Old Man's from their house. So you can walk down there in the morning and get a good surf in before work starts, which is great because most of my clients are East Coast time. So those will be early mornings for sure.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. And then you just do your thing until it's time to do the next thing.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we try to, have concurrent trips where, because he still surfs too. And sometimes I think he's like a little bit more surf stoked than I am. But I think that's like a guy thing. Like he kind of gets like locked in and like nerds out on stuff. Like he'll show me all these like fin design videos on YouTube. And I'm like, that's neat.
Yeah, I think you're right. Or at least, I mean, I don't know, but I think more men. I feel like I'm more likely to get a video like that from a guy friend than a female
Yes,
friend. So you're probably right. Just like
definitely.
the
I mean,
research
meanwhile,
phase of it, you know?
yeah, For sure. Meanwhile, I'm like looking up airfare, like, oh, could we go to that longboard spot in Sri Lanka? Like, that's what I geek out on. Is like, how are we going to get to the place to
Yeah. Well,
try the thing?
you need both.
You need both. You need both. Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely learned a lot about fin design from my husband.
Same, actually.
Yeah.
So what do you ride these days? What's your go-to surfboard? What are you
So
bringing with you to San Diego?
okay, so I'm gonna bring two boards. I have a 9.5 CJ Nelson Chameleon. It's kind of like a mix between a log and a high performance. And then I have another 9.5. I don't really change board lengths that much. It's more of like a pig shaped board. It's this guy, Nick Holleran. He's a shaper down in Virginia Beach. But I was testing a theory with it. So he has this woman who works for him, and her and I were chatting, and she was like, I feel like pig shapes are better for women because most of our body mass is in the lower part of our body. And the shape of it, having like wider hips below the center point, that might be like better for how we pop up, like where our weight is naturally, also when we're paddling out, etc. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting theory. So that board I just kind of bought on a whim, like, yeah, let's test this theory out. And I mean, the Chameleon it'll just ride anything. It's like such an easy board, and it's so lightweight, and it's really, really fun and lovely. And the Foxtrot just needs like a little more skill for sure. So that's been a learning curve.
That's cool. I feel like there's something that doesn't sit right when I think about how the pig board is so suitable for women. There's just like something there that like whether or not it's true, it just like makes me crinkle inside a little bit. But I
Oh no,
can
I get that. Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I don't think he ever said that, but that was her theory of just like board shape.
yeah, and
And
it's much different if it was the female that
oh, yeah,
said
yeah, yeah. No, for sure.
makes it
He
much
didn't
more
say that.
acceptable.
Hopefully this podcast episode doesn't get back to him. No, I'm not saying that you're saying weird things
Yeah.
about women's bodies presumptuously as a shaper, but
No, the whole I was at a retreat lately and I can't remember I get these women that have been like learned to surf from other people, whether it was like a partner or a surf instructor or something, and sometimes the things that I hear from them that their previous surf instructor told them, I'm like, interesting. And one of them, gosh, I can't even remember what it was now, but it was something about the hips. And it was like
uh-huh.
this very like male derogatory thing about like this or that or whatever. Oh, because the women and their wide hips. And I was just like, oh my God. I mean, it is true. In general, women tend to have wider hips than men. However, within the spectrum of women, like there are a lot of women who have much narrower hips than some men that I've seen, or like the
Totally,
belly. It's
totally.
like, okay, maybe the hips are a little bit wider, but then he's got like the big belly, and like what is really the difference? Because that's all the weight in the same place. But yeah, I think that when you said that, it just kind of triggered that, and I can't even remember exactly what was said, but it was just that like, oh, women and their wide hips, and therefore this and that and whatever.
Oh
But I was
no,
like,
I
that's
get that for sure. No, I
odd.
think we had started talking about it because the problem with one of the boards that I had previously, and we were just like shooting the shit, is that it had so much volume like up top and like so much rocker up top. I had a really hard time paddling it because it felt like I was always trying to like get a dump truck to get going through the water. And we were theorizing like, oh, maybe if like the volume and the wide point was lower, in the center point of the board, or even lower, like in a pig shaped board or pigs, whatever. And she was like, I definitely think that's true. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll get this board and try it out for myself. And I think that's been the fun part about like having a partner who does geek out on this kind of stuff. And he shapes like a lot of wooden surfboards, like just for fun. And he'll surf them and they're beautiful. But he always like wants somebody to talk about this stuff with. And I'm like, dude, I don't think I'm that person for you, but maybe a part of me could be that person sometimes. And so I do think about like, oh, how does like board shape and volume and rocker, at a certain stage in your surfing, like it is nice to think about because it does make an impact. And yeah, it's fun to have somebody to talk about that kind of stuff with, but it was really fun to have a woman to talk about it with because she kind of gets some of the things that I think are a little bit different for women paddling surfcraft in the ocean.
Yeah. And the argument for understanding it is just that you go into a surf shop and there's so many options, or you can order online or whatever. And if you have at least a small amount of understanding of a few different features that you've liked in the past, it can, if you're going to spend, I mean, some of those nice longboards, they're so expensive. We're talking it's like $2,000 or
Oh
something. If you're
yeah.
going to drop that kind of money, then you want to not just base it on the color and the logo. It's like, oh, I actually know what I'm talking about. And I know that this works well for me, or these are the types of ways that I'm going to be surfing, and not just rely on the salesperson that just doesn't really care and just wants to sell it to you.
Totally, totally. I mean, I think certain there are some good sales guys out there that like genuinely try and they try to listen and try to understand, but like they aren't in the lived experience of having a female body, right? And potentially like for me, my shoulders are like notoriously out of whack. And so I've really been working on like paddling efficiency and things like that just to save my shoulders and like having that understanding like board shape is like kind of important for that. And certain guys get it, certain guys don't. And yeah, it's fun to talk to women who are that not only surf and surf a lot, but also are interested in like shape and design and maybe not to the nth degree but can try to get you into a thing that would be complementary to your body for sure.
And the San Diego surf ladies are no longer, right? Did they come back around, or they're done?
No, they're done. I know it was really sad. I think they kind of disbanded maybe a year or two after I left San Diego, and that was such a bummer because it was I mean, but like look, I run a nonprofit. It's hard, right? It's like it's hard to do all the things. Luckily, like I got to pay myself from the nonprofit, but it is a lot of work and they were organizing a lot. It was not only sponsored events, but volunteer days, cleanup days, and then surf days, surf meetups like multiple times a week in different parts of the county. And like San Diego County is pretty big. So like a lot of times people from North County wouldn't even come down to South County because it'd take you like an hour or an hour and a half to get there. So it's a lot of work. I totally get it. But yeah, a lot of those women are still like on the Facebook group. And so I'll ping them every once in a while and see, where they're surfing. So it's still fun. And I think, especially with everyone being, home in 2020 and like a lot more people learning how to surf, like there is a lot more people in the water there even than before. Um, but everyone is mostly a beginner. Like everyone's still mostly learning. So it has, I think, in a lot of spaces, really simmered the vibe in a good way. I mean, it's a little more dangerous. You kind of got to look out, but people are chill and more welcoming, which is nice.
Yeah, it is. That's like the double-edged sword there. With I've noticed that
Yeah.
too. Like I went to college in San Diego, and then I lived there again for about a year right after the pandemic. And my sister lives in Carlsbad now, so I go back and visit and surf with her every summer. And yeah, I've noticed that. It's like way more
Yeah.
crowded, but
Mhm.
the average person in the water, like the level is more beginnery
Yeah.
and friendly. So it's like I found I'm like the grumpy person all of a sudden. And I'm like, no, no, no.
I
Like we're just
know.
all out here having fun. I'm just trying to not die. Just trying not to die. Like,
Right. I know. I'm just trying
oh,
to
you
like
go.
thread the
Oh no,
needle.
please don't kill me.
I know, in this like sea of people. Yeah, that was like a really we have Virginia Beach just opened up a wave park a few months ago. And so we try to go like once a month or so. And that's kind of a weird thing there. It's like, yeah, you'll have like 15 people in your session, but like everyone has their own wave. Like you're in a line and you stick to the line and it's like, okay, this is your wave, go. Okay, next person, that's your wave, go. And it's kind of like this conveyor belt and like that's intense. Like that's a little, bit of a learning curve. It's like, yeah, there's lots of people in the water, but it's in this very like organized conveyor belt kind of fashion, which is somewhat bizarre to be honest.
Surfing is crazy these days. It'll be interesting to see how the proliferation of wave pools starts to impact the broader surfing community.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see. Like I went to the Kelly Slater wave pool a couple years ago, but I have not been to some of these newer ones where it's like a different setup. But my kids are now 9 and 11, and my 9-year-old's super into surfing, and he's already, he looks at YouTube and surfers. It's all wave pools, so much wave pool content out there. And so he's like, when can we go to wave pool? I want to go to wave pool. I want to go to wave pool. So I'm sure there's one of those types in my future.
Oh, definitely. But like also how bizarre that he's like you guys like live at the most beautiful ocean and he's like, when can we go to the wave pool?
It's true, yeah. Well, because that's what they're seeing in the content. Like I try to not, we try to limit the device time, and if he's going to be on his device, it's like, okay, you can look at surfing, that's okay. So now he's like, Mom, I just want to watch surfing. Can I watch surfing? And I'm like, okay. So we'll watch it together sometimes, and so much of the content that's like especially geared for kids or like, younger whatever audience is like it's airs and flips in the wave pool, like all the like young kiddie influencers,
Totally.
they're doing flips in the wave pool, and so it's like that's what he sees, that's what he wants to do. It's like that's the future. It's crazy air. I can't even name what they're doing, like backflips and spin things and in the wave pool.
I mean, they're doing like really crazy stuff for sure. It's like surf and skate. I mean, skate and snowboard kind of influence like aerial maneuvers and grabs and things like that. I guess this is like what happened when ski areas started having like parks built, you know? It's like, oh, you can be on the mountain or you can like be in the park.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It's true. And I'm like the grumpy skier that's like, I don't like those ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna go in the back country. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's better
That's
than other
awesome.
things we could be doing. So,
For
all
sure.
right.
For sure.
Well, thank you so much for first raising your hand and saying I want to share my story. It's fun when we can kind of have more of a conversation instead of just like interview style. So I really
Yeah.
enjoyed hearing your perspective and stories.
Yeah, same. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for starting Surf with Amigas. It's like I've made so many amazing friends, like the trips that I've done. I'm stoked that you guys are doing a northern Spain trip this year. I'm like trying to figure out how I'm gonna get on that one. Yeah, and it's just like such a rad community. I think if anyone's listening that is on the fence and hasn't done an Amigas trip before, you have no idea what you're missing. It's like
No, thank
the
you.
most amazing vibe.
Yeah, and we've got a bunch of new locations in the works too. We're not quite at the point of being able to announce anything, but we've got like a bunch of little projects that we're like really close to like making official. But yeah, we're excited about Spain. That'll be fun. We have
Cool.
one of our surf instructors, Lucia, who people might know if you went to the northern Costa Rica location. She's been on that team for the last couple of years, but she's originally from Spain, and her brother owns a place there, like a surf camp, and so that's like kind of the connection. She's like, let's do one there, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not gonna be able to go this year. I'm hoping to go next year though, because it looks so. I love Spain, and my sister lived there for a while, and it looks so beautiful. I want to go check it out.
Well, that was like on our next place to explore of like, oh, could we move here? So we're like looking at Spain and Portugal, and so
Because
that's why
there's that what's it called, the Camino,
the Camino de Santiago.
that's the one, and
Mhm.
this location is on that trail. Like
Oh,
it has like
wow.
the town and the beach where we'll be surfing. Like that's like the trail goes. I don't know how close, but I think the trail goes like through there. Like that town is a place where people from doing that hiking trail go. And so it's
Oh, that's amazing. I've
kind of
had a
cool.
couple
Yeah.
friends do that and say it's just like the most magical walking experience.
Yeah.
But a really, really beautiful part of Spain for sure. Yeah, I'm super pumped. I'm like, okay, I'm doing my business taxes. I think I'm gonna have extra money. I'm just gonna give it to you, Holly. Just
Nice. I'll take
take
it.
my money.
Happy, happy. Awesome. Well, thank
Awesome.
you so much again. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it. And best of luck with your getting those giant longboards over across to California.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hope to see you on a trip soon, Holly.
Awesome. All right.
Mhm.